Greetings and welcome back to part two of Love Triangle. And tragically, this is the story of Pastor Brodus Perry and Latoshia Daniels, who in part one ended up taking his life and wounding his wife in what appears to be a love triangle that went wrong. So again, greetings and thank you for your time in returning to part two. Give yourselves a round of applause for making it to and through another day because as we know, each day is a blessing. So I'm going to be listening to the audio with you from Court TV. So this is a fair use disclaimer and viewer or listening discretion is absolutely advised. So when we left off at part one, she was speaking about a particular app that was used for both she and the late pastor to communicate with one another.
Latoshia Daniels, Daniels.
Before we get into all of the allegations here, have you ever testified in a situation like this before?
No.
Is this a
So let us continue with part two. And this is Latoshia Daniels on the stand, courtesy again of Court TV.
After y'all had sex, did Brodus give you any particular instructions?
Yes. He immediately told me to download a app for us to be able to communicate. That app was called Confide.
Tell the jury what the Confide app did.
The Confide app is whenever you would send a message and when you read that message, it would disappear. You couldn't screenshot it or anything like that. It would immediately disappear once you took your finger off.
So, as I mentioned in part one, as we closed with this, to me, and I have no proof of this, but it just seems to me he may have possibly engaged in this type of behavior prior to Latoshia Daniels, to know of this app and to know how if you sent a message after it was read, it would immediately disappear. So again, it appears that there were some skeletons in the closet of late Pastor Brodus Perry. Let us continue listening to the voice of Latoshia Daniels, who is on the stand.
Did Brodus teach you how to use that app?
As we continued the app, it was probably maybe a week or two later, he found out that if you had, like, other people had your phone number in your phone and they had that app, then they could see you on it. So he had me to change my name on it and also change the way that I attached it to my account. So I went from having my phone number to coming up with a email address. So I made a new email address to be able to attach it that nobody else had.
And he taught you what all you needed to do for that app to do that.
Correct.
So that it could not be traceable back to you.
Correct.
And he did that all very quickly.
Yes.
Did he have, or was it almost a rule? Was it a rule that you had to use that app to talk to him?
Most definitely. That was our main form of communication
So the Confide app, according to the testimony of Latoshia Daniels, was the main form of communication. Ladies, And gentlemen, under the sound of my voice, if you suspect your partner, your husband, your wife, of having any type of apps, to include Telegram, Confide, and I've never heard of Confide. I've heard of Telegram. I've heard people use those in particular schemes and scams like the Susu scams and Ponzi schemes and things of that nature where your communications are more controlled. Well, at least you're led to believe that they're controlled. But this particular one was very interesting. So let's continue on with this. This is Latoshia Daniels' testimony.
The relationship went on. If he wanted to use a different form of communication, like an email or maybe even direct messaging, he would then tell me, go to this platform or go to that one. But it was not, if I was to reach out to him without him reaching out to me first, I had to use the Confide app.
Did he set any other rules for your relationship?
Yes. As far as it came to trips that he wanted me to go on with him, I was the one who had to pay my way as far as airfare or travel. And then,
So she had to pay her own way for any trips, even though he wanted her to accompany him. She had to pay her own way, according to the testimony of Latoshia Daniels. Again, courtesy Court TV. And thank you for tuning in to Lease TV, also known as Doe Eyes TV. This is part 2 of the affair, the tragic affair that ended the life of Pastor Brodus Perry at the hands of former member and his mistress, allegedly, Latoshia Daniels.
then he would, his words would, he would then take care of the rest, meaning that I would have somewhere to stay. When I was in the hotel rooms, I was to stay naked. I couldn't have on any clothes. I had to, um, and the only way I would have clothes on is if, like, we were getting ready to go out. But other than that, when in the hotel room, I had to be naked.
So he required of her, if they were in hotel rooms, that she would have to remain without any clothes outside of them going out. She would have to be without any clothing. So we're seeing some behaviors indicative of possible controlling narcissistic individual. But let's continue again. This is the testimony of the allegations that Latoshia Daniels has spoken about in reference to this case, Tennessee versus Daniels, in the unaliving of Pastor Brodus Perry.
Um, I couldn't, if something was to have happened to him as far as medically, he did not want me to call 911. I would have to call, who we referenced him as the professor, but it was Pastor Pointer. I would have to call him in order to get him emergency attention. He said verbatim lots of times, do not call 911.
Did he add any rules towards the end of your relationship?
At the end of the relationship, he wanted me to say yes, sir, and no, sir to him.
Now, I want to kind of break those down individually, okay?
Okay.
You were required to use the Confide app.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about the travel, okay? What kind of trips did Brodus want you to come on?
The very first one was to Vegas. He had some convention or something that he was at, and so that was the first one. He had invited me to go to Cuba with him that year, but he ended up right at the last minute changing it, saying that Tabitha wanted to go with him. So she went with him, and he was like, well, since you're not going to Cuba, go ahead and sign up to go to Israel for the church group trip.
So this is how this twisted story is really bizarre because at first Tabitha, according to Latasha, was separated according to what the pastor told her, but then she wanted to go on the trip to Cuba with him. So now he is saying to Natasha to go ahead and sign up for the Israel trip, which happened to be a trip that the church was involved with. So let us continue to listen to this very bizarre roller coaster of a triangle.
So I signed up to go to Israel and paid my way for that. I traveled with him to Savannah whenever he would go with Pastor Pointer.
Were there some trips that were for the pastors?
Yes.
And then other trips that were for the church group members?
The only church group that trip we went on was to Israel. The rest of them would be if he was doing something on his own, I guess, speaking engagement wise, or if he was following Pastor Pointer.
And then were there also personal trips?
And then we had personal trips.
If Brodus told you that he wanted you to go on that trip, was it expected that you would be on that trip?
I was on that trip.
Now I want to talk to you about the hotel room rule, okay? What would happen when Brodus would walk in and you were wearing clothing in a hotel room?
Once I did it and I don't know if I was cold or what, but when he was like, why do you still have on clothes? And that happened, he withdrew affection from me.
So Latoshia Daniels, again on stand testifying, stated that when they were in hotel rooms, there were times if she had on clothing, he would ask her, why are you wearing clothing? And she's claiming and alleging that he would withdraw affection from her and that there would be no intimacy because she, I guess, for all intents and purposes, disobeyed his rule, which was unless they were going out, she was not to have on any clothes. Again, viewer and listening discretion is highly advised. And thank you for those that are tuning in, those of you that might be decorating, those of you that are out on the roads, my trucker gals and guys, and those that are doing security that may be in their vehicles, or anyone that's listening. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in to this sordid story. And for those of you that are in relationships, we know from research, and again, I implore you to do your research. This is a very difficult time for many, many people in relationships, especially law enforcement and military, because a lot of people are away from their homes. So I think this is worth listening to. And again, thank you for tuning in.
He was very cold, didn't want to be intimate until after I got undressed. But even then, it was then like a punishment I had to wait for him to decide that he was going to then give affection.
Now I want to talk to you about Pastor Pointer, okay?
Okay.
You called him the professor?
Yes.
What was his position within St. Mark's?
He was the lead pastor of St. Mark.
Did he know about your relationship with Brodus?
Yes, we hung out together a lot.
Do you know, is that why Pastor Pointer was supposed to be his medical emergency contact?
Correct.
Now I want to talk to you about the beginning of your relationship with Brodus, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe y'all's relationship at the beginning?
At the beginning, it was, I'm gonna have to say, amazing. I felt beautiful. He showed me so much attention. We did all kind of things together. It was, I mean, like,
So again, she's saying that he basically had her feel like she had never felt either before or at that time. Keep in mind, she had been married twice. So this breath of fresh air that allegedly the pastor was giving her, what was it was overwhelming, but something that she welcomed. So let's continue to listen.
even we jailed intellectually. It was just, it was a great relationship.
Everything that you didn't have before?
Everything I didn't have before, even to the fact I show up in my office and he had me a dozen of roses sent to me. It was just like everything that I wanted, everything that I even shared with him that I didn't have, he was giving it to me.
Did you also give him things?
I did.
What kind of things did Brodus like?
As the relationship progressed, he got into cigars, and that was a big thing for him, to the point to where he had someone to draw him up a logo, and then I selected the name, so he became the Smoking Savant. And so the more expensive the cigar, the better for him. Then it went from cigars to bourbon, and he had to have the best of the bourbon.
So this pastor, and again, no judgment, became enthralled and involved with engaging in the smoking of cigars and engaging in the drinking of bourbon.
Did you buy him the best of the bourbons?
Yes, I did.
Did you buy him the best of cigars?
I did.
Uh, did you buy him other things?
He wanted this Toomey briefcase for work. I think it was like $400. I got him that. He was working out, and so he needed more workout clothes, and so I purchased him like $400 worth of gear and Nike gear.
So she's saying that she also purchased him workout clothing in the tune of $400 for Nike gear. Yet this man was married or separated, still separated. You're still married. And more importantly, you're the pastor of a church. And to me, again, I understand we are all men and women and we sin, but I believe certain professions, especially men or women of the cloth, are held to or should be held to a much higher standard. And these behaviors are, to me, are just absolutely wrong. And on every level, it's just wrong.
Um, there was a time when he wanted to redo his closet and get some things organized, and I bought all the organization things to make sure that whatever he needed, I did it so that he could be good.
Did he also expect you to do that?
It got to a point to where it did become an expectation.
So my question would be, is this the beginning of the manipulative and narcissistic behavior that she alluded to during testimony, and which led up to his final demise? Again, this is Latoshia Daniels testifying.
At the beginning of your relationship, at some point, did Tabitha go to Florida?
Yes, in 2017, it was around, I think, October. Brodus said that he had sent Tabitha back to Florida and that they were separated. He said that he just needed he was feeling this urge of he had this thing of saying that he was always wanting to be single. He never knew what it meant to be a single man. And
So now she's saying that Pastor Brodus Perry stated that He wanted to know what it was like to be a single man. He's never experienced what it felt like to be a single man. Again, there are so many questions that I have, but let's continue to listen to this testimony of Latoshia Daniels.
In that instance, he was sending her back so he could explore that to some degree.
Did he indicate to you that they were separated?
Yes.
How long was he in Florida?
At least to after Christmas.
So over a month,
Yes.
2 months.
Yes.
Uh, so and during that period of time, were you staying with him a lot?
Yes. I stayed probably about 3 or 4 nights with him during that time. And we also went out of the country.
Now, I want to talk to you about when y'all would travel together, kind of what you would, or I'm sorry, not when you travel, the things that y'all would do together.
Okay.
Travel was one of them, right?
Yes.
And did you both get interested in bourbon?
I did start eventually tasting them. He would always ask me to taste and try to figure out as he.
So again, this is a pastor, and this is a former member, a social worker, anger management professional, engaging in cigars and bourbon tasting. Again, no judgment, but I just believe in certain professions. Uh, there, there, there's a standard that you should be held to. Again, strictly my opinions. And we're going to take a short break. And any thoughts or comments you may have right now as to what you've heard thus far. This is the case of Tennessee versus Latoshia Daniels and the unaliving of Pastor Brodus Perry. Again, we will return momentarily. And we're back. Latoshia Daniels.
The different contents of them, but it wasn't something that I just enjoyed.
What about cigars?
Again, I did begin to smoke certain cigars. He picked out one that was better for me than the others that wasn't too strong.
Did you go with him to cigar lounges?
Yes.
Uh,
Everywhere we traveled, we would find cigar lounges.
Did you actually pay his dues to cigar clubs?
Um, the first, I paid two sets of dues. The first set of dues was at Dave's and Sons, and those won that much. And then the second one was at a club called 1836.
Were those expensive?
They were $125.
A month?
Yes.
Uh, did he ask you to pay that?
No,
You just did
I
to
did
make him
because
happy?
yes.
Did you engage in any physical activities together?
We ran together. We eventually began cycling. He got upset with me because I did not purchase his bike.
So, according to the testimony of Latoshia Daniels, he, meaning Pastor Brodus Perry, became upset with her because she did not pay for his $2,500 bike. Again, these are allegations, but if true, again, as a setting the backdrop, the blueprint for what allegations would state that he was a narcissist, a manipulative individual. Let's continue to listen to Latasha Daniels again. This is courtesy of Court TV.
I was like, I can't afford your $2,500 bike and mine, and that did cause him to be upset. But he eventually got his bike, and I got mine, and we joined a cycling club together. We also exercised together. We would go swimming. Um, so we did those things.
Around those kind of activities, did you have any particular rules that you had to follow?
Now, if we were in the cigar lounge and we was not hanging out with a certain group, he would have me to call a certain individual to invite her to come so that it looked like it was more of a church thing than it was just he and I hanging out.
So, according to her testimony, what I've heard so far, he taught her, that's the word she used, how to use this app, Confide, for them to have a main point, a focal point of communication, and going to cigar lounges or other places that they would call in a third person, so it would look like a church outing and not just the two of them together. So again, it just makes me wonder if he's engaged in this type of behavior before, or was all of this his very first time of engaging in these behaviors when he met and engaged into a relationship. According to the defendant on the stand, Miss Latoshia Daniels. Let's continue listening to this audio again, courtesy of Court TV.
That was just kind of the case, even with the running. It was going to always be somebody from the church, even though they didn't know they were a third party. It was the way of being able for us to still be together, but it did not look like it was just us together. It would always.
So, according to her, he wanted to ensure that the optics, even though the third person was unaware, according to her testimony, the optics looked as if it was just a church outing and not the two of them together in a forbidden relationship or an inappropriate relationship.
Be someone from the church.
And who made that rule to have somebody else always there?
That was him.
I want to talk to you now about ethical non-monogamy. Okay?
Yes.
Now, this is very important here. Ethical non-monogamy. Again, this is something that I have never heard of. Again, there are a lot of people in different types of relationships. Again, no judgment, but I think this is very interesting and may be pivotal as the verdict in the case also was reached, and she was charged with second degree but we have to see how it got there. So this is the introduction to ethical non-monogamy.
Uh, did Brodus talk to you about ethical non-monogamy?
Yes.
Was this a lifestyle that he was interested in?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what Brodus told you about ethical non-monogamy? What is it?
It is where individuals are able to have multiple relationships, but everyone in the relationship must consent.
Did Brodus tell you that he had talked to Tabitha about ethical non-monogamy?
He did.
Did he tell you that Tabitha had said she was comfortable with it, but he just hadn't told her about you yet?
He said that she had given him permission to be open on his side of the marriage.
So she was not allowed to be open on her side.
Correct.
But he told you that she had given him permission to go outside.
Yes.
See, that's where the discrepancy is, because Tabitha's testimony said something completely different. So let us continue to listen to the testimony of Latoshia Daniels.
But he had not told her about you, to your knowledge.
No, not to my knowledge.
Did Brodus ever give you a book to read?
The Ethical Slut is the book that he wanted me to read so that I could.
I'm not going to repeat that. You can back it up to 2341, again, courtesy of Court TV, but the ethical, I'll just say LUT with S in front of it. This is unbelievable. Again, viewer and listening discretion highly advised.
Have a more foundation and knowledge of this lifestyle that he was wanting to be in.
Did you read that book?
I did.
Were you interested in the lifestyle espoused by that book?
No, I was not.
How soon into the relationship did Brodus Perry start discussing this concept of ethical non-monogamy?
Actually, it started, so we were just having conversations about things in life that we wanted to do, bucket list type of things that we were curious in. And at that time, he was like, one of the things I want to do is have a threesome. And I was like, yeah, no, that's nothing I've ever thought about. But he was like, well, I've had one before, but I paid for it. And this time I want to have one where I don't have to pay for it. And so he began to speak about, the term he would use is Tabitha and I being sister wives. Didn't quite know what that meant, but.
Now, how many of you have heard of that term before? Sister wives. I can tell you, I've heard of that. And as a matter of fact, the sector that I started out in, that was mentioned quite a bit. Now, I'm not going to expound on that too much, but that's a term that has floated around quite a bit. Sister wives. Your thoughts about that as we continue to listen to Latoshia Daniels.
As things went on, he would start to talk about me watching them have sex. And he was like, but I think she'll be on board with it, just give it time. But so this would be the dialogue. And that dialogue just continued on to where it went from watchers to now wanting to have the threesomes. And
so it looks as though there were levels laid out, as you just heard Latoshia Daniels said. First watching, and then the engagement of the act. Again, viewer and listener discretion is advised.
And then that's when the ethical slut was introduced. And so it was just like a progression of this lifestyle that he wanted.
So kind of breaking that down, how far into the relationship did he start discuss wanting a watcher with you?
It was pretty early on. I would have to say it was before they took their trip to Cuba, which was around his birthday in May, that he began to talk. He was talking about the watcher. Um, so that was 3 months.
Was that a different trip than the birthday trip that you took where you had the threesome?
Yes, that was a different trip.
Okay. Did the threesome birthday trip happen while y'all were together or before?
It happened while we were together.
Did you know that he was going to do that?
The threesome trip in Cuba?
No, when he went and paid for the threesome.
Oh, that was well before I knew him.
At any point, did you watch him and Tabitha have sex?
No.
Was Tabitha ever invited to watch you and Brodus have sex?
No.
Were you comfortable with the concept of a watcher?
No.
Was Brodus persistent about a watcher?
Very much so.
Okay, this is a Pastor Brodus Perry, and according to the testimony of Latoshia Daniels, he was very interested in the concept, the lifestyle of having a watcher. I don't need to go into detail. If you're paying attention to the testimony, you know exactly what it is that he was interested in. And according to Latasha Daniels, very persistent with that. Let's continue.
Explain that for me.
Everywhere we went, he would even text me and say, "Hey, you need to find us a watcher. Find us a watcher." And so I got to the point I was like, if I can find somebody, hopefully I can get him to stop. So I asked a friend of mine if she would do it for us, and she she was like, if I do, we're taking it to our grave. He had me to tell her to download Confide, and we were able to dialogue three-way. And
So she asked a friend of hers if she would be, meaning her friend, Latasha Daniels' friend, the watcher, and then she relayed that to the late Pastor Brodus Perry, and then he instructed her friend how to download the app Confide. Wow, wow, wow.
things that he was asking her to do, she just backed out.
Did that whole thing make you very uncomfortable?
Very much so.
Why were you willing to even entertain it?
I wanted to make him happy.
So now I want to talk to you about Brodus wanting to expand the ethical non-monogamy.
So it seems from her testimony thus far that she was, as I mentioned, enamored by the attention she was given and the trips and the flowers, but then he has morphed into, perhaps this is someone he's always been, he's no longer here, but it appears that there has been a change in dynamic where it comes to intimate engagement and behaviors that she was not comfortable with, some things she was willing to do just to make him happy, and that they're going further into this ethical non-monogamy.
Well, I guess first, was he actually engaging in ethical non-monogamy?
No.
Tabitha had no idea any of this was going on, right?
No.
As far
Again, this is Tabitha, his wife, who stated that she had no idea.
as you knew, she knew that that's what he wanted, but he hadn't told her.
Or as I knew, correct.
And you've heard differently from even that here.
Yes.
Did Brodus ask you about expanding the relationship beyond you?
He did.
When he asked you about that, how did you respond?
I told him I didn't want to.
Did he tell you, well, my wife's on board with it, so why isn't my girlfriend?
That's exactly what he said.
So if, wow, so if the wife allegedly was on board with it, why wasn't the girlfriend? This story is absolutely deplorable. Again, these are allegations, but sometimes allegations, as we know, and I'm only saying that to be prudent and responsible, can actually be filled with the truth.
Did that cause problems between you and Brodus?
At first, no, but as it continued to go on, it did. Especially after he joined like this, he called it a book club, but it was they met on Marco Polo talking about the book, the flood, and so the more that he engaged in that, it became to where it was because he was more like, "Unit, why are you not on board with this?" And I'm like, why would I be? Like, it doesn't make sense because we already have limited time together. So why would I say, yes, you can be able to be with multiple women?
So I can only imagine what this has done to her self esteem, which I believe was already low when she embarked on this relationship with Pastor Brodus Perry. This is really sad. Let's continue to listen to Latoshia Daniels.
And so it was that part, it was hard.
Did you love Brodus Perry?
I shouldn't have, but I did.
So, right there, she says she should not have loved Brodus Perry, but she did.
Were you in love with Brodus Perry?
I was.
You hear her admit she was in love with Brodus Perry.
Were you wanting to build a life with Brodus Perry?
I wanted what we had at that time, yes.
She wanted what they had at that time.
And y'all saw each other frequently, right?
We saw each other just about every day. I would cook for him, and so he would come to my office to eat lunch. If he didn't come to the office, I would drop it off for him. But it got to the point to where he knew my code to my office, so he would just come in. He knew where to get his lunch, warm it up, and if I had a session, of course he would wait out in his vehicle. But other than that, he would come in and we would sit there and have lunch every day.
Yet his wife had no idea that there was a relationship with Latoshia Daniels. Again, this is the wife, Tabitha. Let's continue. Again, courtesy of Court TV, and thank you for tuning in to part two of this twisted story of the pastor affair ends tragically. The Latoshia Daniels court case.
How did Brodus react when you told him that you were not open to expanding to allow him to have more girlfriends?
Um, he was emotionally distant. Like, well, he would just use He would tell me, well, you need to go and find someone. And I'd be like, I don't want anyone but you. And so he knew that that would play on like my insecurities. So one time when he said, you need to go out and find someone, I said, well, what if I do? And he said, well, then we won't be together. So he knew that was going to get to me because I wanted to be with him. I enjoyed our time together when we did have it. And so he used the emotional part, the affection. He would give it to me, withdraw it if I wasn't really complying with what he wanted.
So
Since
again,
all of
if
this has
this
happened, have you had time to really
so if this testimony is accurate and true, then he did apparently, allegedly manipulate her and hold something over her, knowing knowing her background and being married twice and feeling the way that she felt after they became involved in a relationship.
respectively consider your relationship with Brodus?
Yes.
I want to talk to you. We'll get back to that. I want to talk to you about that Marco Polo group. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a group, again, I've never heard of it, but there's a group that they're going to speak about called Marco Polo.
Brodus was in an ethical non-monogamy group with two other women, right?
Yes.
Were you a part of that group?
I was not.
Were you ever allowed to be involved with that group?
I wasn't.
But you knew about it.
Yes.
Would he have let you contribute?
That was the first time that of any activity that he done that he didn't even invite me to do.
Did he actively keep it from you?
I would say so because with any other thing he did, even to joining like a bourbon society, like we had memberships to a lot of things together, but that was one thing that he did not invite me to.
I want to talk to you about when Brodus and Tabitha Perry moved to Memphis, okay?
Okay.
Mississippi Boulevard reached out to Brodus, right?
To my knowledge, according to him, the pastor from Mississippi Boulevard reached out to Pastor Pointer, and then Pastor Pointer shared that with Brodus.
Had Brodus, to your knowledge, had any issues at St. Mark's?
Yes, he would tell me a lot about conflict that he was having with some of his coworkers. And then there was one instance where, according to him, he had misuse of a credit card.
This is going to the context of their relationship, getting background on, this is going to come buying things, paying for things. This is a debt that he repaid for him, and that's what it's going into.
Okay, they're approaching the bench. Again, you're listening to testimony of Latoshia Daniels, who says that the affair with the pastor ended up being the cause of his subsequent demise at the hands of his mistress, Latoshia Daniels. This is part 2, and we definitely will be having part 3, so please keep your notification bells on. And those of you that are listening, please, if you would be so kind, double tap your screen, or depending upon what device you're using, hit the thumbs up, please, and thank you. All right, it's about to continue.
I'm going to rephrase my question, okay? At some point, did a situation arise where you had to pay back money to the church for Brodus.
Yes.
How much was that?
The debt was 2,500, but I ended up getting him 2,300, and he got very upset with me about it.
So she ended up repaying 2,300, even though the total debt was 2,500, and according to her testimony she's giving, he seemed to be upset with the deficit. Let's continue to listen.
Why did he get upset with you?
Because he wanted me to do the full price.
Wow. So he was upset over the $200 difference.
And that was not your debt, right?
No.
So did Brodus talk to you when this other church reached out to him?
He did.
Did he discuss with you whether or not he should accept it?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I told him I thought it was a great opportunity for him.
Why?
Because of the things that was being shared to me, that some things he was dealing with within the employment at St. Mark. I thought that would be a great thing for him. So he sent me his resume, told me to change it to performance based, and I did that, and he went to the interview.
Is Mississippi Boulevard a prestigious church?
To my knowledge.
And you're not from here, right?
No.
You've never lived in Memphis?
I have not.
Did he eventually, to your knowledge, accept that position at Mississippi Boulevard?
Yes.
Did the church have the going away party for Brodus Perry?
I planned a going away party. Actually, he had two. He had one at the Cigar Lounge and then one for the church.
Who planned the party at the Cigar Lounge?
I did.
Who planned the party at the church?
I did.
Who paid for the majority of the gifts?
I did. And then he gave me a backstory on how to be able to elicit money from the other members of the church so that he could have a certain amount of money for when he's left.
Wow. So she paid for just about everything, and he gave her instructions, basically how to, basically, as she says, elicit money from other members so that he could have a certain amount of money for when he left. Wow. So that is part two of this love triangle that ends tragically for Pastor Brodus Perry at the hands of his mistress, Latoshia Daniels. Now, we heard on part two a little bit more of their relationship, the things that they engaged in together, but we also heard testimony as to his changing of behavior, how it appeared to be manipulative, controlling, almost narcissistic. So again, thank you so much for tuning in to part two. And again, stay tuned because you don't want to miss part three. Again, this audio is courtesy of Court TV. Again, the case, Tennessee versus Latoshia Daniels, who was convicted of second-degree and the taking of life of Pastor Brodus Perry. Till next video, please be safe, be well, and be healthier. Till next time, bye-bye for now.